The appendicular skeleton, as we said previously, is the shoulder girdle and the arms, and the hip girdle and the legs. So let's go through those bones. So shoulder girdle first. First of all, the shoulder blade. We don't call it the shoulder blade. That'd be far too simple. We have to give it something more complicated to remember. It's called the scapula. So it's a big flat bone called the scapula. Across here, we've got the clavicle, which you guys probably know as the collarbone. So we call that the clavicle. When I say we, I don't know who we is exactly. Probably us sciencey geeks call it the clavicle. Apparently the most commonly broken bone in the body, that one. So we've got the scapula, the clavicle. Then if you move on to the actual arms, we've got a long bone here called the humerus. Now you've probably heard of the funny bone. Humerus, funny, that kind of helped me remember that one. So link those two together. So that's this long bone here. As we go down into the forearm, you've actually got two bones. So it's just one bone in the upper arm, but two in the forearm. Now, the way to remember this, or again, this works for me, is the bone that's closest to the thumb and where you would take your radial pulse is your radius. So that's the radius that goes all the way onto the thumb and is where you'd check your radial pulse. Then round this side here, this is the ulna. So two long bones in the forearm, radius, ulna. Now in your wrists, you've got short little bones, which give you lots of mobility, and they're called carpals. Just after your carpals, you've got longer bones here, and these are called metacarpals, and meta means comes after. So you've got your carpals in your wrist, metacarpals comes after your carpals. Then we go down to more long bones, and these are called your phalanges. And we've got your phalanges in one other place as well, which we'll come to in a bit. Okay, so we've got humerus, radius, ulna, carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges. Right, let's move down to the hip girdle. So as you're looking at your pelvis, you've got two big flat bones that stick out and create your hips. That's called the ilium. So big flat bones called the ilium. Then as we come all the way down to the bottom of the pelvis, we call it our sit bones, the bit that you sit on. That's your ischium. And then just in front of your ischium, around the front here, you have a little joint there, and this area we will refer to as your pubis. So we've got ilium, ischium, and then the pubis. Now we're going to move on to the legs, which are obviously coming off the hip girdle. So the first bones we come to are the bones of the thigh. Longest bone we have, longest, thickest bone, called the femur. So from the femur we go down, and just before we get to the lower leg, we've got our kneecaps. And our kneecaps aren't called kneecaps. Again, that'd be far too easy. We call them the patella. From the patella, we then go down to the lower leg, and we have two bones in the lower leg. Obviously, that gives us a bit more support and structure, and they're weight-bearing bones, so two is going to be better. So we have the tibia, which is down the front. That wasn't deliberate. We've got tibia down the front. I'll show you my leg. Should have had a few sunbeds before I did this. Tibia, and then round the back, you've got the fibula. So two bones there, and then in your ankles here, terrible balance, we've got the tarsals. So quite similar to the word in the wrist, so carpals and tarsals. After your tarsals, you've then got your metatarsals. So up here we said that meta means comes after, so it's the same in the feet, comes after tarsals, metatarsals. And then I said there was another place we had phalanges. We've got those in our toes. So our toes and fingers are both called phalanges.